Okay, no problem. All right.
Okay, so we are live, and I would just like to welcome my guest, Jason Christoff, into the group. And he has worked with hundreds of clients over the years, helping them overcome their self-sabotaging behaviors. And he's also worked with hundreds of coaches, teaching them how to coach clients through, overcoming these self-sabotaging behaviors as well. So we're really honored to have Jason in the group with us today. And we're going to talk a little bit about health and how we can overcome some self-sabotaging behaviors to do with health. And so first of all, Jason, welcome. And I would like to just ask you, how can somebody's life be changed by doing the one-to-one program of overcoming self-sabotage?
Well, if someone's having a hard time getting where they want to go in life, a lot of people believe that they can overcome their self-sabotage by themselves. So they think they can strong arm this very particular part of the mind. The part of the mind that's in charge of self-sabotage is the subconscious mind. So a lot of times people will try and they fail, try and fail, and they think next time I'll have a bit more willpower, I'll have a bit more time. But they don't understand that our behavior is manufactured by our subconscious mind based on the stimuli that we get from the environment. So it sort of becomes like a record player, like a record on a record player, very thick, made of granite, and our like repetitive experiences, etch the grooves in this record. And it is this record that keeps playing over and over and over again, unless someone learns how to literally, you know, get involved almost with a jukebox operation where you take the old record off, you put a new slate record down, and you learn to, embed the new grooves, some new songs on there. And this is the benefit of the self-sabotage coaching, is you can invent any sort of behavior you want if you understand that the subconscious mind actually manufactures your behavior through the repetitive content in your environment. You cannot overpower this part of the mind. You cannot strong arm it. If you're having a hard time losing weight or getting wealthy, or, even having a positive self dialogue with yourself, if you're always putting yourself down, putting things in your mouth that you shouldn't be putting in, or drinking things that makes your life less, and you can't really stop yourself, it's because this record that keeps playing over and over again in your subconscious mind. And again, the record was laid down usually between the ages of 0 and 7 years old. If you're having a hard time losing weight, quitting addictions, or actually just trying to be happy, it would be based on the fact that this record, which you probably don't like the songs, but it will keep playing over and over again in your life, unless you engage with someone, say like yourself, who knows how to get the old record off, put a new, completely blank slate on the turntable, and then start etching the grooves that you want, putting the songs and laying down the tracks that you want. And once you do that, the subconscious mind will always play that record. So you want positive songs about being healthy, being wealthy, being wise, being abundant. And it's all about controlling the repetitive content in your own life, because it's the repetitive content that lays down the songs on this clean slate, or this old slate that doesn't stop playing over and over in our lives. So I hope that makes some sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's a really nice analogy you used there, because I can relate to that myself. Like, you just doing the same things. And the thing you mentioned at the beginning was strong arming, trying to just get through it, just try and be motivated. We talk about motivation quite a lot. And it's like, just be motivated enough to, to train hard, or to eat healthy. And it's just about motivation, weight loss. Lots of people say it's about motivation. And there's lots of very motivated people in this group. But like you said, it doesn't matter how much you want to do something. And I do tend to find that lots of people will tell me, they'll eat healthy all day. They'll wake up and they'll have a healthy breakfast, and they really want to do this. They'll have a healthy lunch. They've said no to the cakes. They've said no to the coffees and things. and then they get to the end of the day, and then they end up sort of like binge eating all the rubbish in the evening. And it's kind of like this their subconscious is coming in then, kicking in, and it's going to be like, no, you've been too healthy today. You're going to get pulled back down. And I people tell me that a lot, and they kind of beat themselves up because they think that it's something that they're doing. They're just not motivated enough. But like you said, it is the subconscious part of the brain that's keeping them mediocre, and they actually need to get that new record on. And I love the analogy to be able to play out, health. You mentioned there that it's normally before age 7 that this record sort of is put in place. And so what sort of things could have happened to people at that age in order for them to be, maybe overweight in their adulthood, or be addicted to coffee and alcohol and things like that? What could have happened to them?
Well, the subconscious mind is, the one with the record on the player. And, how does someone become sort of programmed in that record to play this self-abusive song all the time? Well, if you need to start understanding that, you have to understand the subconscious mind is in charge of our safety and security. So what it does is it looks out through our eyes and it looks at our environment, and it's usually our parents or the TV. And its job is to sort of, almost like a server at a restaurant. It has a pad of paper right here, and then it has a pen. And its job is to sort of go out and look for the repetitive content. Now, how does judging repetitive content, what does that have to do with our safety and security? Well, the subconscious is really obsessed with repetitive content because repetitive content denotes or represents the bigger group or the bigger tribe or the bigger herd. So when you look out, and when the subconscious looks out and it's counting all the time, it might say, look, what's the average weight of everybody in the family? What's the average weight of everybody on the TV? And average just means most, but most also means safe in the subconscious mind because it represents the majority. So if someone's growing up in a family where most people are eating poorly, or most people don't care about their health, or most people smoke, or most people work a 9-to-5 job and just get by check to check, the subconscious actually notes that. And then that becomes sort of the safe card to play inside that family. And this person, then that starts, that repetitive viewing of this day to day or day by day living out of these people's lives, it gets ingrained in the record. And this is what's going to be played out by the subconscious. It's almost like whatever's on this pad of paper gets pushed up as a script to the person through the subconscious neurological system, and then the person acts it out consciously. So we're not aware that our behavior is manufactured by the repetitive stimuli in our environment. And the reason this part of the brain is so obsessed with it is because that's the safest way to blend into the tribe. Humans like people that are like them. And this is how the body has decided it's the best way to survive is to fit in with the people around you and mimic and mirror and emulate what they're doing. And it's a really good security and safety mechanism when you are out in a village, out in the wild. But how about when you get the domesticated or farmed human, when they're eating unnatural foods, or they're watching TV shows where there's a lot of unhealthy behaviors? And this part of the mind, Caroline, you know this more than anybody, it doesn't know the difference between real life screen time and imagined thought. So if someone's always watching TV, you're going to get a lot of repetitive content that's unhealthy, that's a little immoral, a little unethical, a little childish. And this can actually, the repetitive content that goes to the top of the list is what we're going to be acting out. So if we grow up in a family where they're, watching a whole bunch of lewd shows all the time, just entertainment-based shows, everything's sort of unhealthy in a lot of shows. It's actually violent and criminal in a lot of shows today, but that's on the screen. But how about if it's backed up and reinforced, where the parents aren't eating potentially breakfast? They're only having a coffee and a cigarette. They're drinking alcohol at night. They don't really respect their health. Well, the subconscious will therefore say, hey, Caroline, I've noticed the repetitive content on my list here is you belong to an unhealthy tribe. And what that means is your subconscious automatically comes to the conclusion that the most dangerous role you can play in this tribe, which is unhealthy, would be to enter healthy. Like if you come in to during Thanksgiving to an unhealthy tribe and they're eating, sweet potatoes with marshmallows and M&Ms on it, and they're all 50 pounds overweight, and you enter and you bring your own organic meal and water, and they're drinking beer and you're coming in thin, well, your subconscious says, Caroline, hold on a second. According to my list and the repetitive content, this is a very dangerous role for you to act out in an unhealthy tribe. You're going to be rejected. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be attacked. And this is how someone can get like the record and the deepest grooves about unhealthy lifestyle on the various tracks. And then when they leave the house, but the record comes with them, so they're always playing the same song. So when that person goes to try and be healthy, the person outside the house might get on the scale and say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being 40 pounds overweight. I'm sick and tired of it. The subconscious will come right to the forefront and say, hey, hold on. According to the list, this is a very dangerous card to play. I'm in charge of your safety and security. You're not going to be doing that. So this subconscious will give you a little bit of leash, a little bit of leeway, a little bit of rope. And that's what you're talking about. Someone has a great breakfast, they have a great lunch, and then if they had a great dinner without any unhealthy snacking, they would wake up. And it's usually, if you do three meals that are really healthy, you'll drop at least 1.5 pounds overnight. And the subconscious mind, which is very powerful, has very massive and ferocious computation ability, it knows you're going to lose the 1.5 pounds, and it puts the brakes to it. So the subconscious is not only in charge of scanning our environment for repetitive stimuli with the goal of making sure you fit in with that environment, it can control the metabolism as well. So it's the subconscious mind that creates the cravings at night. And someone says, I'm craving ice cream, I'm craving chocolate, I'm craving chips or cookies. The subconscious actually has the ability to control the full hormonal profile. It's the one creating all the cravings. And it's creating the cravings so you eat the food so you wake up at the same weight in order to fit into the old tribe. So the old record, the old play, the old music or the old song is not jeopardized. The old song on that record represents what's familiar based on the repetitive downloads from the environment. And inside the subconscious mind, what is familiar also qualifies as safe. And this part of the brain is in charge of your safety. So it actually comes to the conclusion, if you've lived in an unhealthy tribe or watch unhealthy shows, it has come to the conclusion that it's dangerous for you to be healthy. If you've grown up in a poor tribe, it's dangerous to be rich. And this is why you cannot strong arm it, because this part of the brain has been proven to be in charge of 93% of your behavior. So I don't know if you've ever been in a bar brawl, but if there's 93 rugby players versus 7 rugby players in a bar brawl, the 93 usually wins. Mm-hmm. So it's the old record on the turntable that drives 93% of our behavior. And if it was being downloaded from repetitive content that's negative and unhealthy, self-abusive, and based on almost like a form of self-sadism, which is very common in our world today, that person has, and I will tell you as a coach that worked with 700 people, Zero chance, no chance whatsoever of a strong arming it. You need the 93% pushing you in the healthy direction, not in the unhealthy. And the only person that I know of that can write a new record, get a new song on the LP, is a self-sabotage coach. Because I used to be one of the best exercise and nutrition coaches in all of Canada. And I literally quit because I would train people for 3 years with the best exercise and nutrition. They would never accomplish their goal. And then the exact day I started using the brainwashing techniques that self-sabotage coaches like yourself use, that's the only time I ever had progress with them, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's the only time we could get through to them.
And I've got a kind of similar background in a way, in that I worked for the NHS, and I worked in childhood obesity, and I worked one-to-one with lots of clients. And it was always about just giving them a diet plan and giving them an exercise regime and like trying to motivate them. And it never, it happened, it worked for so long and then it stopped. It would work until they lost maybe 10 pounds and people would start noticing, and then it would all just stop. And, even when I worked on boot camps and I ran my own boot camps, the clients that would come on boot camps, they were super motivated. But it didn't matter because, I know that, they'll get to a certain point and it will all stop. And it was very frustrating for me. Like, I found that really, really hard. It was also frustrating for like my own goals, because I knew I had fitness goals. I knew I had like health goals and weight loss goals. And I was so motivated. I had all the information, but actually putting it into practice to achieve those goals just wasn't happening. And sort of through contacts on Facebook and on social media, I managed to find you and go through the one-to-one process. And for me, I've told so many people about this, it was absolutely life-changing. And it didn't just change, the things I was wanting it to, like my health and managing to get, health goals and stuff. But like, I hadn't even thought that I was sabotaging against my wealth. It didn't even occur to me. You work a job, you get your wage, you pay your bills, and you've got a little bit left over to spend. That's what I thought, was what happened. So sort of going through the process has opened up so many more doors, because, even like, having my own business is fantastic, but that's not even like the big earner for me. There's all these other passive revenues, passive income streams that I've now got, which has just like opened up like a whole new world to me. So when I say to like people that going through the coaching process is life-changing, like I mean that with everything, because it can really change their life. And you said you've worked with was it over 700 clients you've had? Yeah, and you must have seen some real sort of change around. Can you tell us about like maybe a couple of examples, or just what you generally see happens when somebody has gone through the one-to-one coaching with you?
Well, it's one of those situations where you can't even believe it's always like that. And see, that's why it sounds fantastical, because I used to have such a low success rate when I was a very highly qualified exercise and nutrition coach. But I get so many stories of people turning around their lives. And when people meet me in person, sometimes at different conferences, they'll tell me how big the change was. And I can't believe it. Like, I'm baffled that I was able to do that to that person's life. And I've never had anybody come back to me and be disappointed. I've never had anybody stay still. They just keep progressing, and it baffles the mind why I didn't come across this sort of technology before. I mean, through my research, I'm well versed in the reasons why it's kept from the public, because it's so effective. And yeah, there was one gentleman, he just says, like, I got to make more money. I said, well, what are you making now? And he says, well, 150 grand a year. And I said, well, that's not so bad. He goes, well, yeah, I've been stuck there for 15 years. And sure enough, his dad made 125, you know. So there's the record, right? This is how the subconscious works. It downloads the repetitive stimuli from the environment, ranks it, and it doesn't want to go outside the average or outside the highest count. So it always sort of, the subconscious would have associated this is safe. Like, and not only is the 125 his dad used to make safe, anything outside that is ranked unfamiliar. It's like unfamiliar territory, and the subconscious ranks anything that's unfamiliar as fear or danger. So he had this record on, and it was okay, but he's like, I know I could do much better. And I saw some of his work on his website. I'm like, yeah, for sure, you should be knocking it out of the park. He was inhibiting himself. Now, what's odd about this part of the brain too is that the deep thinking part of the mind, called the frontal lobe or the prefrontal cortex, that's where all the business ideas are. So it's been shown that if we've grown up in an environment that's financially challenging or an abusive sort of non-thinking, it's more of a reactive way of living, the frontal lobe is actually deactivated purposely by the subconscious mind so that there's no conflict with the tribe. So the best of ourselves lives here in the frontal lobe. And if the subconscious kind of looks at its pad, its pad of paper and says, you can't be a deep thinker because it's going to put you in contradiction to the repetitive stimuli, which means you're going to have a conflict with the tribe, then it just says, well, to firm this up and cement it, the subconscious has the ability to de-electrify, or what's called inhibit, the frontal lobe, and then electrify other parts of the brain that keep us stunned and inept. Unbelievable, right? So this guy, we got the old record off in the process that we do, and we put down the old record. And then we started driving in the repetitive content to this part of the mind, and it has its own particular language, computer language, right? Input language. And we started carving him some deep grooves in this new sort of songless slate. And it was about him being okay with being wealthy. And so what happens in the subconscious mind at that point is the subconscious just basically, it only has one function. It's not that complex. It counts repetitive content. And now the subconscious might have a conversation with my friend and say, oh, you were not going to believe this, but according to the new repetitive content, you live in a rich tribe. It's okay to be rich now. And you might talk to your subconscious back and say, that's funny, because I'm the one programming you now. And the subconscious says, well, that's okay, because I only have one function. I just basically look at my script and you seem like it's okay to be rich because everybody else is rich based on the repetitive content, and you get pushed off this new script. And because it's okay to be wealthy, the subconscious electrifies or, activates the frontal lobe. And then it was only 9 months, or no, it was over a year. It was 15 months. He went to 975,000. And he's like, I can't believe it. It was, I don't know what happened. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not going to know, because the subconscious is called the subconscious because it works outside your conscious awareness. So I had almost hypnotized him. My dad actually did hypnotize him, because hypnosis is part of, this process that we do. And we laid in a dormant program where it was safe for him to be rich and abundant. And then he just would get triggered all the time outside in the environment. And instead of running away from, being rich, he would run toward it. So we use the same function of the subconscious mind with its very simple, singular focus of counting repetitive content to make, deeper grooves in the record. And we controlled this repetitive content for 3 weeks in the patented ways that I teach the coaches, so that the subconscious is like, oh, it's completely safe. There's a new tribe around. We've moved villages here. This is, and the subconscious takes it very seriously to make you fit in with the repetitive content. So why not make the repetitive content awesome and get the 93% driving you in the direction of your dreams instead of trying to pull you down under the waterline all the time.
Yeah, and I think I like one of your analogies that I've heard you use before. Once you've done the programming, it's like having a what you describe as a 800-pound gorilla like dragging you up the mountain of success. And I've used that with my clients before,
Right.
because it's brilliant. Because once you've done that, it's easy. Then you will get taken to that place because you've done all of the programming. And I think as well, sort of knowing that the subconscious, it's actually really easy to manipulate. Like you said. And sort of once you know the programming, you can do whatever you want to do. And sort of examples of people that say have become very wealthy and they've not done the programming. So like examples are, people that win the lottery and win millions of pounds, and then within the year they're bankrupt because they've not done the programming. They don't know how to deal with having that much money. It's the opposite. The subconscious has taken them, back to where they started out. So the programming is really important for these big changes that you want to make. So I've got a question here. Do you think it's possible? I think I know the answer, but I want you to explain it for me. Do you think it's possible for somebody to carry on with the behaviors that they think they enjoy and they like doing, like, watching films at the weekend and watching TV, once the kids are gone to bed, having the odd glass of wine, and the odd cup of coffee? Because lots of people I speak to will sort of want to keep some of their goodies. They don't want to give it all up. And it's quite a hard conversation to have, because I understand it as if you accept the junk food and if you accept the sort of nonsense on TV, then you're rejecting the health and the wealth and the happiness and things like that. So is it possible, Jason, to sort of be a mainstreamer, to watch TV, drink your wine, and still achieve the goals that you want to?
It's a lot worse than people think. I got a bit of an echo there or something. Anyway, so yeah, it's a lot worse than what people think. If someone thinks that hurting them, like if someone thinks that a destructive toxic compound is a goodie, or something that ends their life prematurely, makes them age quicker. Like, I'm 51 years old. I don't dye my beard. I don't dye my hair. And that's about programming yourself so you push away your best life. But that has to be the record. Push away your worst life and embrace your best life. So when the idea that something that hurts you is a goodie reflects a record or a song on the LP, that it would be basically a hark back to the repetitive stimuli in the old house, where the old tribal rituals are about sort of staying low to be safe, staying mediocre, staying underachieving. So if someone really wants to be their best, they have to understand they will, in this society, the chances of you having a record or a song on that record that drives you to be self-abusive is going to be very high. And the reason you're going to be abusing yourself is simple. It's because everybody else is, or the majority is. And don't forget, the subconscious mind, the subconscious is always counting what the majority is doing and then forcing it through to you as a script for you to act out. Now, this part of the mind as well doesn't care if fitting in makes you overweight, gives you cancer, makes you die early, makes you like not sexually attractive to your mate. It doesn't care. Its only job is for it to use its process for you to fit in. And it's a lot worse than that, because when you watch TV or have wine or have caffeine, they've proven that that alone shuts your frontal lobe off. And the frontal lobe is the care and control mechanism by which you are able to judge the long-term consequences of your actions. So not only would poisoning yourself and then describing it as a positive, a positive process reflect an inverted program on the record, The act of watching TV is proven to actually put you in trance, shut down the frontal lobe, and coffee and alcohol is proven to put you in trance and shut down your frontal lobe as well. And if you go to a hypnotist show, you should understand, and a lot of people don't understand how hypnotism is done. Oddly enough, it has three parts. Trance is first. The program is laid into your subconscious in a dormant way, and then you have the trigger phrase. So, for example, I went to a hypnotist show once, and my friend was put into trance, and the TV puts you into trance. This is absolutely proven. And the greatest area of research in the entire world is on how TV affects your brain. A lot of people don't know that. So inside the hypnotist show, my friend was put into trance, and the program was laid into his subconscious. And the program was, when you hear Johnny Cash's Burning Ring of Fire, the song, you will pull your trousers down, not your underwear, and you will scoot across the floor like your bum's on fire. And that's the dormant program. And the trigger phrase was Johnny Cash's Burning Ring of Fire. So of course, 10 minutes later, he's talking like normal on the stage. Johnny Cash's song comes on 10 minutes after he was programmed, and he does pull his pants down and scoot across the floor like a dog dragging their bum. Now, a lot of people don't understand that the TV, so there's an issue with like a recording on the record player where you embrace a toxic lifestyle. But even if you watch TV, even if you're perfectly clean, you're put into trance, and they're laying in all the time. The average person doesn't understand that the TV is there to put people into trance and lay in the disempowering programs that lay dormant until they're triggered later. And don't forget, if I was in making a movie, I would also be putting you in trance, but I would never dare put in a negative program that would be triggered later where you would actually make your life worse. But I have to be honest with you, after 10 or 12 years of research and over 150 interviews and a lot of lectures and a lot of research in this area, that your TV is simply there to put you in trance and then lay in subconscious programming into your fertile, subconscious mind, which will be triggered later by various things in the environment, like a Domino's logo, like a Pizza Hut logo, like a beer logo, and you will be triggered just like my friend was triggered to do things that don't make any sense. And when someone says, well, it's not really the same thing, your friend's dragging, it's the same thing, because it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to work a job maybe you don't like, save a little bit of money, because when you work jobs you don't like and you're programmed with that 9-to-5 program, you're gonna have very little money. So you take very little money that you have, because you're running a financial song on the record that's futile as well, and then you're gonna plow yourself with poison instead of work on a business plan or think your way out of the disaster that you've created. It makes as much sense to poison yourself on a Friday night as it does for my buddy to drag his bum back and forth across the stage to Johnny Cash's Burning Ring of Fire. It's the exact same. If you know how the subconscious mind works, brainwashing, mind control, and what's called behavior modification, it's the exact same thing. And the people who sort of dominate us politically and financially and through a very wide spectrum, they're the ones dropping in the programs to make us go and make our lives worse. And that's why we don't really notice. Because if I grabbed you, Caroline, brought you out to your lawn and poured wine down your throat every Friday night, and I had like an official uniform on, the average person would be like, hey, hold on a sec, that doesn't seem very fair. Why is he doing that? Why is he forcing her to drink that stuff? And is that stuff good for you? Like, why is he if it was good for her, why wouldn't she just drink it on her own? Well, if I use hypnosis and trance in the TV shows and the movie, and I can trick you through repetitive content. And the number 1 and 2 most repetitive content in all Hollywood and TV production is coffee and alcohol. And then you go act it out. I get the same effect as a ruler. I get the same effect. I get you hurting yourself. You're dulling your own shine. You're trimming your own poppy. You're disempowering yourself. And that's great for me as the ruler, because you're a lot easier to rule and manipulate and govern and steal from and lie to when you're sort of literally chasing your own tail and wallowing in your own filth. So it's this is what's really going on. So there's a programming issue when people are poisoning themselves, and it's normalized, absolutely. But if you're going to do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else is getting. And 80% of the population stays medicated, overweight, living check to check, and not happy. So this is the big issue that's going on right now, is that a self-sabotage coach will lay this all out one issue at a time, where the person can put it together and saying, okay, what you're saying is kind of, yeah, I kind of see it, but let's make a new record. So making the new record is the only way to overcome any of this. Like, no matter how interesting my lectures are regarding the people who rule us and the psychological manipulation they use to make us wallow in our own filth, like Pigpen on Charlie Brown, none of that won't be able to change the record. It's interesting stories, but you have to make a new record.
Yeah, so the knowledge is not enough.
No.
What I would, like when I found out this information and it started to make sense to me, and I started to do my own reprogramming, I felt like a sense of, I kind of thought everyone's, they're not gonna manage to do this. Like, it's against everybody. Okay. People have not got much chance in life because there's so much against them. All the programming is all negative. It's all about, drinking the toxic substances and eating the junk food, and having a very average life. And, I think that's something that self-sabotage coaches sort of take and think, right, we want to share this. We want to try and share this with as many people as possible. And like we said, it's not just about the knowledge, but actually getting as many people through the program as possible will make such a big difference. And yeah, of course, they can go and share the knowledge. That will be brilliant, but it's not going to help them reprogram. But if they do the reprogramming themselves, then they're like creating a new tribe, if you like. And the sort of knock-on consequences to like the children and people around them is huge, because they can be like, yeah, I'm having healthy food. Why don't you try some? And it's sort of that pulling people out of the old tribe and bringing them with them. So as a self-sabotage coach, it's like, it's a really powerful thing. And sort of I want to help as many people as possible. But once you sign up and you do the program yourself, the impact that you're going to have on other people is huge as well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's guaranteed, because this part of the brain, the subconscious actually really loves us and wants us. That's why it's there. It's to help us live and help us survive and increase our sense of security and actually try to elongate our lifespan. So it's a bit of a follower, but obviously it's a bit of a follower. It makes these lists to see. It's always going to follow in a way. It wants to follow the bigger group because it's safer. So it thinks. it can be hacked. Obviously, there's some flaws with that particular safety mechanism, but it's a follower by nature. So if you're going to lead, like if you heal yourself, like when I go to a party and I don't drink alcohol, it inspires someone else. Like the subconscious is always recording what it sees. So when people see, no thanks, I don't drink, and everybody sort of knows that already, they're like, well, he doesn't drink. And the subconscious is like, oh, okay. And if it sees another person, that's two. I'll tell you, you can hack. Two's a tribe, like two's a crowd. And if you get two people being positive, living out their dreams, being abundant, not afraid to be wealthy, and also courageous enough to take the attack that the people will always push toward us when we're sort of a taller poppy, because other people are programmed to want everybody the same. I mean, that's what the whole tribal, subconscious, herd-based pack animal behavior is about, is that when I have a better physique than the average person, when I have a better bank balance than the average person, when I have a better house than the average person, of course the attack will come. And then I have bravery and courage to just, I don't disrespect them. I just able to keep rising up, and they're not going to bring me back down because I'm okay. I've developed the bravery to be in a smaller herd through the reprogramming. I've made those songs on my record player, and I make sure they get played every day, that I trick the subconscious. I'm like, yeah, no, the other tribe with 5 people in it, that they don't go to work, they stay at home, they're with their family, they have incomes where they don't have to rely on anybody. That's the bigger herd. And even though it's a smaller herd, it's all my subconscious hears. Now, how does that happen? I control what my subconscious hears in regards to repetitive content. So I can trick it into absolutely any behavior by constantly drowning it in the repetitive content that I know it will follow. And of course, I can't water it down. Like, I can't do a real positive record with like great songs about exercise and stretching and getting to bed on time and good water. And I can't lay that track down and lay that new record down in the music studio and then go watch Shameless or the movie Bad Moms or the movie Dirty Grandpa, because the subconscious mind at that point, regardless of what it sees or hears, it just starts counting. And say something like the movie Bad Grandpa. We analyzed that one time in a Zoom call for the Self Sabotage Coaches, and it had 79 alcohol images in the first 60 seconds of the movie trailer. The movie trailer is 2 minutes long. The first 60 seconds had 79 images of alcohol. And I'll tell you, the speed of the subconscious detailing with the pen and the paper, it would have said, oh, 79 images of alcohol. This is an alcohol-based tribe. Drink some alcohol. And that is how your behavior can be thrown in the bushes, even the best of us. And so not only do I lay down great tracks and great songs on a brand new record, I do not record or dare expose my subconscious mind that manufactures my behavior. I am not going to dare expose it to the Hollywood black magicians. I am not going to do that.
And the good thing with this, like we said, it's easily manipulated, but like you could have watched hundreds of films and you could have watched TV every single night. But if you do the reprogramming, you could wake up the next morning and your subconscious is going, oh, well, we've moved tribes, you know, we're not doing all of that stuff before. So it's actually very quick to be able to change it if you do the right programming, isn't it?
It's massively quick, because the subconscious, again, is a loving part of the brain. It's smart enough with its genetic memory to know that, hey, things change. Things could change. It could be a disaster. You could, you could travel to a new tribe. You could fly to a different country. You land in India. And then the subconscious is like, oh, this doesn't seem right. And then it starts counting what everybody's doing in India. Then the next day you might go to the Philippines. And when you land, it's like, okay, it's writing furiously, trying to say, I'm here. I'm with you. I'm here. I'm your partner. I've been downloading all the repetitive content. Here's your new repetitive content to act out. So you fit in the Philippine tribe, or you fit in the Japanese tribe. It's smart enough to know things change. It's completely okay and well equipped to throw the new record off and put a new one down and start doing the grooves. But you have to be the one in control. And it's not just the repetitive content process has about 4 or 5 different layers, and you have to know the inputting language on those 4 or 5 layers, which of course self-sabotage coaches are masters at. And you cannot, if someone's out there, they're having trouble losing weight, they want to make more money, they want to, gain a little bit of independence in the income and the financial wealth area, where they don't want to go to work. Maybe they want to stay home with their kids. Maybe they want to homeschool. Maybe they're just tired of getting up by an alarm. Maybe they're just tired of being on a leash of their employer. Regardless of what it is, your subconscious is completely okay to get the old record off. And obviously 9 to 5 is an old record. I mean, most people do 9 to 5, but the subconscious is completely okay with being millionaire in a robe, taking a jacuzzi at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's okay with it all, as long as you convince it that that's a safe card to play. And you have to, in order to get to that safe card level, you have to learn how to control the repetitive content so that there's a better record playing on your turntable.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news is, because I'm going to draw this to an end in a minute, but you know, the good news is that people that are watching this, they're in, if they're watching it through the Facebook group, they're already seeing like really good subliminal messages, because that's what we post. You know, we're not posting any of the negative stuff. They're just seeing good stuff on their Facebook feed, which is, love it, love it. Which is, that's what, you know, people can start to see and start to put the good stuff in. You know, if people have joined the My Tribe, which some people in the group have, you know, that's sort of an extra layer. They'll know about the self-sabotaging, or the self-sabotaging behaviors. They'll be seeing more of the positive subliminal messages, and they'll probably have already started doing reprogramming. So people can, you know, come on, jump onto My Tribe with me. It's a very inexpensive thing. But like you said, if they want to work through the layers and really overcome the self-sabotaging behaviors that we all do, that we're all programmed to do, and you know, get that new record on, so that they are going to be healthy, they're going to be wealthy, they're going to be wise, and this is they're going to get to their success, then they really need to be doing the one-to-one programming. And if anyone wants to, you know, go into the website, which is Freedom from Self-Sabotage, is that right?
That's the one, more for the coaching school. And you know, my website is jchristoff.com, but
Yeah.
there's just various articles there about mind control and brainwashing, and you know, my knowledge is over a very wide spectrum.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's so much really good content on there. Luckily, I've got a page. I've got a bit on there now, because I'm a certified self-sabotage coach on there. So people can contact me through the group or through my email. And just for the rest of April as well, what I want to give people is an extra session when they book one-to-one with me, to do specific wealth sabotage, so that they can easily earn back what they've spent on the one-to-one programming. Because, you know, we like to do that, don't we? We want to sort of share all this knowledge with people and help them become, you know, healthy, wealthy, and wise. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really good to have you in the group. I hope everyone has taken away loads of information from this and got a curiosity and sort of want to learn more about it, because that's exactly what happened when I heard Jason talk for the first time. I was really curious and I just wanted to find out more. And sort of since I've done that, there's been no looking back. It's just been the best experience of my life, and it's going to impact my future so much. So thank you so much, Jason, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Hey, thank you for leading by example, Caroline. Proud of you.